Joining me, criminal defense attorney, host of the Defense Diaries podcast, was in the courtroom for the trial, Bob Motta, and private investigator, worked on the case for nearly 2 years, is close with Richard Allen's family. Erica Morse is with us. Thank you both for being here. Erica, it's been a while since I've talked to you about this case, so let's talk about this case. Let's start first with Richard Allen. His wife, Kathy, wasn't there today, right?
No one from the Allen family attended. That was an ongoing discussion between Rick and his family for about the last 2 weeks, Vinny, as to whether or not they should go. And the decision was made that if Rick's advisement by the defense attorneys was to not participate in the pre-sentencing investigation report, and for good reason, that the family would stand with him in solidarity and not accept the verdict by refusing to show up. It is unfair to watch this family, or to ask this family to watch this man be sentenced for crimes he did not commit in a trial that has to be redone.
So, Erica, tell me, why do you believe he did not commit this horrific double murder?
Oh, well, Vinny, we only have, 20 minutes to talk about it tonight. The Frank's memo. Frank's memo, which was not a concoction of the defense team. It was a highly and very thoroughly investigated extension of a report created by an FBI task force who developed that theory. And the man who authored that report died at the hands of an Odinist prison guard 5 days after he turned that report in.
Wait. Say that again?
Mm-hmm. Told you to tell you, Vinny. Bob, back me on this. Am I lying?
No, she's talking about Greg Ferenczi, who was one of the 3 authors of the Odin report that Click, Ferenczi, and Kevin Murphy all put together, because they continued that line of investigation for years until Greg Ferenczi was killed, and that was in front of a federal building shortly after he turned in that document.
Explain this to me. How was he killed? So the man who was killed was working for the FBI or was part of the task force? Who exactly was he?
He was one of the 3 members of the task force tasked with investigating all of the tips related, and I mean all of the tips related to a particular group of individuals. And Greg authored the report. It was turned in, I believe, on May 2nd. And he, on May 7th, was sitting in an office inside the federal building in, I believe it was Indy or Terre Haute. And a Molotov cocktail was thrown through his office window. Greg vacated his office, ran outside in front of the federal building, and that is when he was shot in the head by a former prison guard who is very openly tied to Odinism.
So was that prison guard arrested and prosecuted for this?
Yes, and charged, convicted. Yes, sir, he was. And this is one of the many details about the Delphi case that the state does not want the world to know. They don't want the world to know that Todd Click has been charged with unrelated crimes, another member of that task force. They don't want to know about the number of people associated with this case who have died or been charged, myself included. They don't want the world to know.
Wait, you've been charged with something now?
The bloods, I got to be careful.
Right.
But the blood spatter expert who testified at the Delphi trial was at my home alone, inside my home, 2 days before he testified in the trial. And Bob can attest to that. There's so much y'all don't know, Vinny. There's so much. People are scared. And then to have Doug and sit there today and disparage us for the work we've done and talk about the transparency that they claim occurred in a case where there was none, where the defense team wasn't even allowed to present a case. Let's go. I'm ready. I told you I was going to talk starting the day the gag order was lifted. Let's do this.
Bob, what are you... I'm trying to make some sense of all this. So it seems like there's a big backstory here to the whole Odinism angle, and I just want to clarify this, right? So there's a task force that's part of law enforcement, and there's some members of this task force who had a different theory. They did not believe Richard Allen, or Richard Allen wasn't even on the radar yet for anyone, but they believed that the murder of these two girls was connected to some sort of Odinistic or Odinistic group ritual killing. And what you're telling me is that one member of that group who authored that report is no longer alive. Another one's been arrested for something?
Right before trial. Right before trial. Unrelated to the case, but...
But is he law enforcement or is she law enforcement? Like the people on this task force, were they law enforcement officers?
Oh yeah, these were all longtime cops. These were all decorated. I mean, just Google Greg Ferenczi. You'll see immediately this guy was highly respected. All of these cops were longtime cops. And that's kind of what we've been saying about, you know, this concept of Doug Carter getting up there and casting shade on the defense for doing their job. Number one, let's just understand that it's their job, and everything that was in that Frank's memo, that people on the Richard Allen is guilty, they created this whole narrative thing, the defense did side. I don't know if they just don't realize that all of that came from the discovery tendered to the defense by the state. None of this was cooked up by the defense.
Right.
That exact report we're talking about was in the discovery. That report that we're talking about right now was in the discovery. So when they start talking to these cops, obviously Ferenczi wasn't there to talk to, but the defense called Click, deposed Click. They deposed Kevin Murphy or called Kevin Murphy. They were like, what is this all about? You know, like, does this thing have legs?
Wow.
You know, I mean, everything that was in that Frank's memo.
Stay where you are. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll discuss more of these explosive revelations next.
Do you think that the public perception of Richard Allen is not accurate?
I don't think it's accurate. Richard Allen's a murderer.
Okay, Richard Allen today was sentenced 130 years in prison for the Delphi murders. But right now we're going over some explosive revelations that are being brought by a private investigator who's investigated this case for 2 years. She is with us, Erica Morse, along with Bob Motta, criminal defense attorney, host of Defense Diaries. I've got this information, and I just pulled this up. You know, you're hitting me with this tonight, Erica, but I want the folks at home to hear this, because this is a press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office. A federal grand jury in Indianapolis returned an indictment today, and obviously this goes back in time to 2022, charging a Terre Haute man with the murder of a federal officer, attempted arson of federal property, and using a firearm during a crime of violence causing death. The charges against Shane Meehan, 45, stem from the July 7th, 2021 killing of Terre Haute police detective and FBI task force officer Gregory Ferenczi. Meehan was previously charged by a federal criminal complaint. According to court documents, on July 7th, Meehan drove his pickup truck to the gate of the FBI resident agency building in Terre Haute. Meehan exited his truck and threw a Molotov cocktail toward the building. Shortly thereafter, Terre Haute police detective and FBI task force officer Gregory Ferenczi walked out of the building, just like you said, and was confronted by Meehan, who was holding a firearm. Meehan shot Ferenczi, who died of his injuries. Now, the U.S. Attorney doesn't indicate anything about the investigation or the report connected to Odinism, but what you're saying is the report is handed in 5 days before this happened?
The report was turned in on the 2nd of May, and Greg was killed on the 7th.
Wow. Was any of this litigated, Bob? When was all these revelations coming out first, Eric? When were these pieces put together? And when did you like understand, like, oh my goodness, there might be something else going on here?
The first round of discovery and found the Odin report. In that discovery, that's when everybody kind of pumped the brakes for a second and went, what the hell are we dealing with here? And
well, how do we know that Shane Meehan is does he claim to be an Odinist?
Yes, and he his employment is listed throughout the trial as a former prison guard in the DOC. And as you recall, we had a lot of problems with prison guards inside the DOC being Odinists. Oh gosh, I hope I'm here in 24 hours, Vinny. A lot of problems with allegations about Odinist prison guards, and some of those guys testified at trial. Again, there was a reason why cameras weren't allowed in that courtroom. There was a reason why pen and paper only were allowed. And as Andy Baldwin said, a couple years ago, standing inside one of the courthouses, he said, it's time for journalists to be journalists. And we were begging you guys, while being stifled, silenced, threatened, retaliated against, gagged, to dig deeper and deeper, because we couldn't tell the world what was happening. But what we continued to do throughout the process is file motions and provide information that should have been allowed in at trial to be explored by a jury. And not only was it not allowed, but then today, a very extreme effort was made to shut down any attempt to let us talk about it. And listen, I'm all in at this point. An innocent man was just sentenced to 130 years in prison today. His wife has become one of my best friends. And I can't let this go. Rick Elan is an innocent man, and we can prove it.
All right, stay where you are. We're going to do an extra segment on this. We're going to take a short break right now, but Bob Motta, Erica Morse staying with us. Big night here. Richard Allen sentenced to 130 years, but now, is there more to the story? We'll be right back. Tonight on Closing Arguments, the families of Abigail Williams and Libby German finally get some justice. We're bringing you the latest from today's sentencing in the Delphi murder case.
Closing Arguments coming up next, only on Court TV. Join Court TV's Vinny Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinny Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
Baldwin, can you provide any comment?
Journalism. It's time for you guys to start being journalists.
That was the call from Richard Allen's attorney in the Delphi murder case. And we're in the midst of doing some of that right now on this program. Welcome back. Richard Allen, 130 years. He was sentenced today. Presented no evidence, said nothing. They're going, banking on the appellate process in all of this. Erica Morse is with us, private investigator, has worked this case for 2 years. Bob Motta knows this case inside out, has been covering it in Defense Diaries. Bob Motta's a great attorney. So the man who shoots and kills the author of the Odinism report, and shoots and kills the FBI task force member, who's a Terre Haute detective, is now in a hospital, not competent to stand trial, apparently, for these federal charges. He's having mental issues. So I don't know what's going on there. Bob Motta, let me ask you a quick question. Quick answer. What can the defense team do with this information? And does this become anything that can be used to get a new trial?
Yeah, I mean, a bulk of it was contained in the Franks memo. I mean, that, a huge amount of what we've been talking about was contained in the Franks memo.
It's larger than that. If you've got someone who's alleged to be a former Department of Corrections Odinist who shoots and kills the author of the guy who says the Odinists are responsible for the murder of Abby and Libby.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to make that connection. I don't know if that connection's been made. Certainly wasn't brought up by the defense in that context because they're worried about defending Richard Allen.
Right, right.
But you know what I'm saying?
If you can make that connection, is that new evidence that could get you potentially a new trial?
If it has legs.
Okay. Erica Morse, does it have legs?
It has legs, and there's a lot of new information. You know, the one thing I really have to stress here is that this defense team, a group of individuals assigned and then some others brought on by request, independently and collectively, you know, we keep hearing countless hours. Well, I did a little bit of very conservative math today, and I'd say on our end, conservatively, 22 to 25,000 hours as a team on this case. And we have done such thorough investigating. We took that 27-page Odin report and turned it into a 136-page Franks memo. And there is a reason they fought to keep that out. And there is a reason why every time we tried to get it in, it was shut down and shut down quickly. We have conflicts of interest running amok in this case. We have very strange timelines that don't fit. For those who were in the courtroom today, there was the one thing that Brad did ask was that the record be corrected to reflect that Rick was not arrested on October 28th, that he was actually arrested on October 26th. And I can tell you that I've spent the last 2 weeks of my life going through every minute of October 26th through October 28th, and it has resulted in a lot of new information.
Okay. We're out of time for tonight, but obviously we will continue to follow up on this. Erica Morse, appreciate you coming on and providing some of this new information. Obviously, it gives us something to work on. Bob Motta, thank you as well.